Okay, today I want to talk about compatibility in marriage. A person can, be very prayerful, God fearing, and all that. But one thing you actually have to look out for in marriage is compatibility. It's just like a lock and key. Do you understand? They should fit into each other. There are many things that form a person. And a perfect example is the family you come from. It's just like your bloodline. Your bloodline plays a huge role in who you are. Another thing is your training, experience, people you meet, the books you read. All this play a huge role in forming the kind of person you are and that you will become. Let me tell you a story. I went visiting an older friend who she was just like a mentor to me, you understand. She's always there guiding me spiritually, she's a member of our church and she was just like a spiritual guide, always, trying to ginger me, go for confession, go for mass and this and one day she invited me over to her place. I went there. So when we got there, she actually asked her errand boy to help her get something. This boy spent a whole lot of time. He took the whole time trying to get that thing. So the lady called once, called again. If it was somebody like me, you needed to see how I've busted into shouting. Are you crazy? What are you doing there? Why are you keeping me? But no, this was entirely different. And I was shocked. Why was I shocked? Because in the family where I come from, this is our normal way of doing things. Do you understand? This is our normal way of responding to anger or anything that you're not pleased with. You shout, you raise your voice. That was the kind of family I came out from. Do you understand? That's how you communicate anger. Well, I saw an entirely different scenario and I was awed. I was like, are you telling me that somebody can be angry and still act this kindly? She just picked up her phone. Why are you keeping me? Why are you there? What's the problem? How can I have sent you on an errand and you're there till this time? Can you just let me have what I sent you? She communicated in a very calm way, but you could see that she was not happy. My dear, that sent a deep message. Do you understand? It taught me a huge lesson. You don't always have to shout. You don't always have to raise your voice to communicate or to tell somebody that you're not happy with whatever he or she did. I learned. But the family I come from, it's quite different. So from that day on, I learned a huge lesson. Now let me delve into the main thing, which is relationships. Do you understand? As a single person, you have to be mindful of compatibility. Do you understand? Sometimes the person may tick all the boxes, but are you compatible? Because we are humans with our strengths and weaknesses, and sometimes no matter how hard we try, these things will definitely show up. So let me tell you a story. While growing up, I'm this kind of person that loves God, and I always wished to marry somebody that's very strong in God. Like, you have to be a very prayerful person. You have to be able to raise the roof. That was my desire. I was born and brought up in the Catholic Church. At that time, I felt the Catholics were not really praying. They were not prayerful. I desired to marry a mountain of fire. You know how the mountain of fire people pray? I desired to marry that kind of person. And just as if God knew, he brought that kind of person my way. Do you get? Nice guy, very prayerful. He helped my prayer life. Do you understand? This guy could pray for hours. And he helped train me in the place of warfare. But there was something I noticed that was lacking. At times, I'm somebody that I used to, until the grace of God helped me. I used to be a very angry person. And it came from the pattern of family I came out from. It was a normal thing. Do you understand? I could be bitter. I could be unforgiving. I could keep malice. And sometimes when this guy gets me angry and I lock up, that's how he remains. This is somebody that prays. Do you understand? This is somebody that is more mature than me in terms of spirituality. Do you understand? Can you see that there's no compatibility in that relationship? For me, he ticked most of the boxes. And at that time, I was thinking that this thing is something I can take lightly. But this is not something you should overlook as a Christian who wants your marriage to work. Do you understand? Never overlook these kind of things. They might look subtle. They might look, you've seen what you want. You can just go on, he's a prayerful person and that's what that matters. No. the two of you have to be compatible. There's no way somebody who is, short-tempered can work with somebody that is short-tempered. That relationship will not work. There's no way somebody that is keeping malice can work with somebody that is, unless you might have totally conquered that vice. So that's why compatibility is very important. Now let's compare this guy to my husband. My husband is not that kind of person that will jump and raise the roof, but he prays. Do you understand? My husband is humble. My husband is kind. He's compassionate. He's understanding. He's not, when we're dating, my husband is somebody that when I get angry, do you understand? Sometimes you will think it's the person, but it's just the pattern the person knows. The person doesn't know any better. This is how I communicate anger. But my husband will be that person that will look out for me. He will make sure he doesn't cut that line of communication. But he doesn't jump up and down. But he has the virtues of a good Christian. Do you understand? Okay, let's even check the life of St. Joseph in the Bible. If you check very well, there was nothing St. Joseph said, but the Catholics regard him as one of the greatest saints, just because of his attitude, because of a virtue he had. He didn't want to disgrace our Blessed Mother. Even though what happened calls for, where did she get pregnant? How can she say the Holy Spirit? Who has ever done that? He never did that. He was meditating on how he was going to go about this issue. My husband is that kind of person that can be calm and meditate on issues. Do you understand? And that's the only way he can work. If he was this kind of person that I'm saying he's prayerful, but he can easily get angry, how would the relationship have worked? You understand? Because for a long time, that anger was a problem in my marriage till God worked on me and, transformed me. And sometimes, some people might not be patient enough. Do you understand? I almost messed up my marriage. I almost did. With anger, bitterness, unforgiveness. But thank God my husband was a patient person. Okay, what if he's not a patient person? And I say, he's prayerful, let's just get married. Do you understand? So as a Christian, ask God for wisdom. But one thing I always know is that God will never allow you to get married to the wrong person if you trust in him. So it's not really about, the person is prayerful. Do you know, the guy I felt was prayerful could just go off his phone without telling me. Do you understand? He will say he's going to pray. At that time, it's not as if he's a bad person. But that's what he knows. So he feels like the world doesn't matter, it's just God that matters. But the same God who tells you to love him tells you also to love your neighbor. So sometimes that's why we miss it as Christians. You can't be a short-tempered person and you move on with a short-tempered person. You can't be somebody that, you're struggling with forgiveness and you're going to, it's just like a lock and a key. Two keys can never work together. Do you understand? There is no way you can work together if you're not compatible. Check for your strengths and your weaknesses. Do you understand? One person can be calm and the other person can be, a gingering kind of person. It can work that way. But when the reverse is the case, it becomes a problem. Check for these things is very important. Okay, so I want you to watch this video so that you really understand what I am saying.
I grew up in a home, my parents loved themselves, but I saw a pattern that started to affect me without me knowing. My parents knew how to quarrel. They didn't quarrel in the secret, they quarreled in the open. They had their arguments in front of us, and they even were physical in front of us. And as a child, I saw myself and my elder brother trying to separate my parents from fighting. And imagine a child doing that. We're crying, you'll be crying. You'll be crying, mommy, daddy, stop, daddy, leave mommy, like that. And I'm sure my parents, in the innocence of their hearts or naivety, probably they didn't even understand the impact on us, the children. So this was how I grew up. And I continued to grow up like that till I met my husband at age 19. If your child becomes you, replicates you in the future, it's likely that they will not be able to stay in their marriage like you and your husband or wife stayed. And likely the next thing that will happen is that there will be a divorce. There will be a separation. Why? Because the children that you are raising are scarred. You are raising scarred children that will get into the society and scar other people. So when I got married to my husband, the way I understood to have conversation is to raise voice. So imagine me raising voice when I'm talking to him. He said, you're shouting your voice. I said, me shout. I'm not shouting. Why are you raising your voice? I said, me raise my voice. I'm not raising my voice. We've not started anything yet now. Why are you complaining? Because I know when it becomes heated, this is you are just starting and you are complaining. And unfortunately for my husband, he came from a peaceful home. You know what a peaceful home looks like? So imagine the two of us having a conversation and he's just talking. And if you know my husband, very gentleman and quiet man. Then me, I'm like, why you say I'm shouting? We have not even started hitting ourselves. You are complaining. This is normal conversation. So this thing started to eat into our marriage. And I didn't even know it was a problem. Unfortunately, some of us, the problems we're having in marriage, we don't even know that they are. We think it's nothing, it's normal, because that was how we were raised. The things that destroy marriages today is not even those things we used to think before. You'll be thinking fornication, that is adultery, that is little things we call, those things we call little foxes, anger, unforgiveness, malice, bitterness. I am telling you, these are the things destroying homes today. I have seen a couple that were married for 5 years and they were going through a divorce. Why? She keeps malice. She can stay 2 months, she won't talk to me. 2 months we'll live in the same house, she won't say anything to me. And because of that, he said he's not doing it again. Is that infidelity? But they were in the court. At the time, the pastor introduced me to them. And at that point in time, both of them were saying, we have had enough. The truth is that even some of us these days, we are not even patient. We don't even want to try. Imagine if my husband walked out of my marriage because of the things I was doing. Then today, I will not be standing here to be, even if I'm standing here to be, it won't be.
Okay, for somebody who does not come from this kind of family, you will not really understand what this lady is saying. Her experience, the kind of family she comes from, formed her perception of how life should be. And that became her reality. You can imagine the husband saying, you were shouting and you're saying that's how we have not even started anything. This was exactly a kind of very close scenario to I and my husband. My husband's family is not somewhere they want to raise the roof. They're not like that. Do you understand? But I came from a different place. Our reality was if he gets back, you can go violent. It's just, the pattern. The only thing is that by the grace of God, I understood it. I had to pray because it's nature. When something is rooted in your bloodline, it's not easy. I know how hard I prayed and depended on God before God took that spirit of anger away from me. It's not always easy. Do you understand? So don't go and play a gamble of he will change. No. Do you understand? Make sure the person you're getting married to is a direct opposite of your weakness. Because where I am weak, my husband is strong. Where I am strong, he might not be very, perfect in that aspect. I'm not saying we are perfect. Do you understand? But God brought us gradually. There are things that God can work with. There are things that God can work on. There are things he knows that these things are not really a problem. Do you understand? Gradually, he will bring you to that level of perfection. So, my dear singles, please be mindful of these things so that you don't jump in and out of marriage. I saw a girl that her marriage is not even up to a year and she's out of the marriage. Do you understand? If she had understood some things, at least she would have been patient and prayerful. But what if the things that she even is complaining about is something that cannot even be worked on? What if there are similarities between her and her husband? Maybe the both of them are temperamental, they are short-tempered, and it's not, within 1 year, you will start complaining that this person is this person is this. And that thing is, I always say in my view, there are forces working against marriages. You have to be prayerful. But as much as you pray, you have to be wise. Do you understand? You have to ask God for wisdom to make the right decisions. God bless you.